Joins me now for more updates. Tijesu, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan suspended for 6 months. Walk us through the adoption of this recommendation by the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Code of Conduct.
Well, thank you, Abosede. First, I want to reiterate that Senator Natasha Uduaghan was not suspended based on violating Order 40. Order 40 speaks to her petition. That's not the reason why she was suspended. She was suspended based on violating Order 6, Sub 1, which speaks to her seating arrangement and also misconduct in the Senate chambers. Well, as you listened earlier in my report, you could see that the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions spelled out her violation and why he found her guilty of her misconduct. He says that that is not the only scenario where she has been found wanting. She has been found wanting, unleashing verbal attacks on her colleagues since she assumed office as a senator, and also, violating some of the Senate standing rules. And even when she was called for the committee to appear before the committee, she failed. She dishonored the invitation and failed to appear. Instead, she obtained an interim, judgment from a court, which the committee says cannot stand because that matter is already before it, and a court cannot interfere in what it does, the same way they cannot also interfere in what the court does as far as there is a matter before them. So in all this, taking into cognizance all these situations and all their findings, they made their recommendation recommending, her suspension for 6 months.
All right, today. So now Senator Natasha was actually in the Senate today. Did we get any immediate reactions from her, especially as to if she would consider that option of tendering a written apology to the Senate for reconsideration of her suspension?
If you saw right after, close to the end of my report, you could see where she said justice would be, seeking justice, injustice will not be sustained, rather. So that is a clear, defiant statement on her part. She's, not accepting, that suspension. In her own thought, she feels that, she was not treated rightly. But from our own observations of Senate plenary today and all the submissions made by her colleagues, it's more like they feel they gave her a very long rope to pull, gave her instances where she could have, tendered an apology and still even gave her that window, even when some of her colleagues, kicked against it and say she should be outrightly suspended. But, the Senate still gave her that avenue to tender an apology, and which can be considered by the Senate and for her to be recalled and her suspension shortened, and also her aides that were supposed, their allowances and their salaries that were supposed to be cut off because of her suspension. They waived that because they, in their own sympathy, they believe that those aides have their own families, and just for her to just, look back and see if she could retrace her steps, and also advised her that since she's a new lawmaker, perhaps she might not be familiar with the rules of the Senate and, what is contained in the Red Book. They gave her that, a stretch of privilege, but she still feels that, her privileges are breached and she was treated unjustly.
National Assembly correspondent